Hey, welcome back. We can try this voiceover thing again. But hey, what's going on? What am I doing, man? You tune in these videos and you never know what you're gonna get. Never know. Here we got a little sanding going on. What I'm doing is pointing to the cylinder head there. Yeah, yeah. There's another spot. Anyhow, um, I'm got a piece of glass there and some 220 grit sandpaper, and in a figure eight pattern, I am sanding the cylinder head to my Yamaha Towny, which is the same cylinder head that's also found on the Yamaha QT50 for those of you watching at home. And you can do this with any cylinder head. This cylinder head had some high spots in the middle. See that big circle that goes around the inner chamber there, I guess I'll call it. So it had some high spots in the middle, and my goal is to take those out, make it completely flat, and run without a cylinder head gasket, thus increasing compression on the bike, thus increasing power on the bike. After riding the Towny around with John's engine and having a blast, I thought I had to return the engine and put my old stock engine back on it. And I was like, well, man, how can we get our stock engine to go a little bit faster? So this is the start of faster things. And so like I said, uh, higher compression leads to more power, which hopefully leads to more speed. We'll find out soon enough. It might just lead to better power in, maybe the low and the mid range. We'll see how it affects the high range or the top end. But what the heck? Let's give it a go. Let's give it a try. So I didn't capture all of this wonderful sanding, and I know many of you at home are disappointed because it is exciting stuff. And I should mention, wear a mask. You don't want to breathe in this aluminum dust. And like I said, to do it, just go to the hardware store, get yourself a piece of scrap glass for a couple bucks, because most hardware stores are cutting glass and they've got all kinds of scrap stuff. Get yourself a decent sized a piece of glass so that you can sand on it easily. And I've got a 220 grit paper taped to the front and a 400 grit sandpaper taped to the back. Now you can go with a coarser grit sandpaper if you want to take material off faster, like a 100 grit or an 80 grit or whatever. But I've settled on 220 grit for now. I could try different grits in the future. I don't know. So we're sanding away. And I guess I should mention also that as you do it, the high spots will immediately be shinier than the rest of the cylinder head surface that you're sanding. And then you basically got to sand those down until the entire circle there is all shiny. It's all been hit by the sandpaper. Now I've switched to the 400 grit sandpaper and just doing a final sand because I'm pretty much done. And again, real life, this takes a little bit more time depending on the condition of your cylinder head. And the idea is to run without a head gasket. Now if you screw up, no big deal. If the piston hits the cylinder head after doing this, just throw the head gasket back on and you'll be fine, and you'll still have a much higher compression than you did before. I tested the compression on the Towny and it was an abysmal 105. So I'm surprised it ran as good as it did. Also, higher compression will make the bike really easy to start, or easier to start, provided you don't have other issues that are holding you back. but I did this on the Bone Crushers Urban Express, and that thing started up first kick pretty much every time after that. It was pretty amazing. So we're back in the workshop, and the other boring stuff I'm going to have to show you is cleaning the aluminum grit that you sanded off that is still on that cylinder head. Because if you don't clean it, all that nasty stuff will get in your engine, and it's not good for your engine. So I'm just using some paper towels and a little WD-40. And the idea is you basically want to get to the point where you take a clean paper towel and wipe it, and it comes back white instead of gray. Here's just a quick wipe, and you'll see just how dirty it is. See? It looked clean, right, to the naked eye. Oh, that looked clean, but guess again. Guess again, bro. It is not clean at all. And I just kind of show you this process. I know it's boring, but it'll give you an idea of what needs to be done to properly clean the cylinder head. And we're still getting gray matter, so to speak, on our white paper towels. Scrubby scrub, right? Scrubby scrub scrubby. I'll let you listen to the scrubbies here. It's good stuff, isn't it? Good stuff. That'll put you right to sleep. A little more WD on the paper towel, and away we go. So, as I was saying, the base compression reading before doing this was 105, and let's see what we can get it up to. I got to get some more paper towels first. More paper towels, bro. And I might have mentioned the risk is if you take too much material off, the piston will hit the cylinder head. And if that's the case, no big deal. Just throw the head gasket back on. Your head gasket will actually work a ton better at sealing the cylinder head and the cylinder because your cylinder head is now flat, perfectly flat. And you know it's perfectly flat when the entire circle there you see, you know, the outside of the donut, so to speak, the mating surface is uniformly shiny. Sometimes it takes a little while, but you'll get there. And then you can always go back. I ended up going too far, so the piston was hitting the cylinder head. I had done some work on this before, and I was just finishing up today because I wanted to try it out. And so I'd taken a bit of material off. So, not the end of the world, just throw the head gasket back on. And I can even, you know, if I want, take a little more material off of this and run the head gasket and up the compression more. So if we can finally get this clean, we can move on to bigger and better things. It's a lot of cleaning involved, isn't it? We can do it. We can do it, folks. Come on, come on. But it's not, I've got a few other surprises later in the video, so don't change that dial just yet. Just hang in there. Hang in there. It'll get a little more exciting. Not much more, but it'll get a little more exciting. How do you like that? How do you like that touch with the WD-40? Got it to just stream out nice and even, not spray all over the place. That takes practice, man. Not everybody can do that. I used to not, you know, have a high opinion of WD-40, but man, for some reason I love the stuff now. I found all kinds of uses for it. If you're bored, Google or search on YouTube for WD-40 uses, and you'll see all kinds of crazy stuff. And good stuff too. All right, I just said it was good. Let's move on to the next step. Putting the cylinder head onto the cylinder without a head gasket. Let's move the camera. Whoop. Yep, a little further, a little further. Whoop. Somewhere. There it goes. We could have used a little more light where the cylinder head goes, but technical difficulties prevented such. Did I even have a light on? I'm sure I did. You could also hit this with compressed air too if you still have doubts as to its cleanliness. But I think we're pretty good. I think we're pretty good. One more scrub with the paper towel. One last chance, right? You can do it. Come on, put that thing on. So I'm just putting it on here. Now, an important tool to have is a compression tester. And you need to try to find, I ought to link to it, the one I finally found that worked well. A lot of times your regular compression, automotive compression testers won't do the job for these little engines. They'll read way too low. And so you need to find one that reads correctly. Although you could still use it as kind of a basis for comparison if you've got an automotive tester that reads too low. So it's not entirely useless, but it's good if you get the proper compression tester. It's an indispensable tool if you're going to be messing with these engines. So we're screwing around with the cylinder head nuts here. Yes, we are. And let's tighten them up. Another essential tool is the inch-pound torque wrench, as well as a foot-pound torque wrench. For the cylinder head, you need the inch-pound torque wrench, and I think I'll break it out here eventually. Just hang in there. Hang in there. And when you use a torque wrench, you want to tighten these cylinder head nuts up in like an tighten them up in an X pattern. So lower left to or we'll start. Say you start upper left, go to lower right, then go to lower left, then go to upper right, and then you want to torque them up gradually. I think the spec on this is 84 inch-pounds. You want to start at like 30 or 45 or whatever the increments are. Okay, I think when my audio file gets too long, it starts breaking up, and I've got a feeling it was breaking up there. And so I hopefully fix that. And hopefully we're good for the rest of the recording, or I might break it up again. Well, here I am with the torque wrench going to town on it. And hopefully, and you want to do it kind of slow, and when you hear it click, you know that you've reached the torque, but you want to do it slow enough that it'll quick. I'm probably doing it a little fast there. Do it a little slower, and so you can hear the click, just like that. Just like that. If you missed it, just like that. Or like that. See how it's done? Now I'm raising the torque a little more. There, see how I slowed down? We don't want to mess up. Don't want to mess up. Don't want to learn the hard way on this. Take my advice. I have learned the hard way and snapped a cylinder stud, and it was not fun. It was not a good time. It was a terrible time. Don't do it. Don't do it. Because I was using the torque wrench too quickly and not hearing the clicks, going, what's going on here? And I kept torquing and kept torquing and snappy poo. And then for the next 3 days, my life was hell. Because I had to drill out that cylinder stud from the engine case. So here I am hooking up the compression tester. And I will hold the throttle, I will move some stuff out of the way, hold the throttle wide open, and hit the Kickstarter several times. So we got an initial reading. We looking to beat 105. I'm going to give it a few more kicks just to make sure. It's not going any further up. Are we going to share this information with the world? I think it reads 125. So we went up 20 psi. Do a couple more just to make triple sure that it isn't moving anymore. About 130, a little less, and it was at 105. Oh, I guess I was wrong. We're up 25. So we're up 25. Now, unbeknownst to me, well, we'll find it later that the piston was actually hitting the cylinder head. So I had to put the head gasket back in, and we went down to 6 plug. What did I say? Oh, I put in, when you raise the compression, you're also going to raise the heat inside the engine. So I went with a little colder plug from a 4 to a 6. And then we're doing this in combination with something else. You should probably only do one change at a time. But what I'm going to show you, I found for the PW50, which also works on the Towny and the QT50, I found an offset flywheel key. It's something like 2.3 degrees or 2.5 degrees, I forget what it is, but somewhere between 2 and 3 degrees. You can use it, depending on how it's installed, to advance or retard the timing. And I've already installed it to advance the timing, but I want to try it, since we're going for top speed, I want to try it the other direction and retard the timing. So I'm taking all this good stuff out. To get to that thing, pull it out and flip it the other direction and try retarding the timing. Now I put it in initially that way and the thing ran rich as all get out. But I'm hoping, since I increased the compression, that in combination with retarding the timing will be a happy combination. And actually it did kind of work out, although I'm still at 37 miles an hour because I tested this later that evening. And I think I need to try to get the compression even higher, maybe to like 145. Now, one thing you should do is to combat the extra heat created by the extra compression is increase the main jet size a little bit, because fuel has a cooling effect on the engine. It's not just for producing power or running the engine, it also cools the engine. So I didn't do that here because I was retarding the timing, which makes it run richer anyways. So, but if you don't do this, you should increase the size of the main jet. And then anyways, this Woodruff key that I bought, the offset flywheel key, and I'm using the piston stop to keep this from moving. And here I realize that the piston must be stuck because I'm having some Kickstarter problems. Or did I might have taken out, I took out the piston stop and this thing's stuck. And I'm like, really? What's going on now? So, and I don't know if it wouldn't make sense to take off the flywheel and then all of a sudden have that problem. Or would it? That's a question that we must consider. But nevertheless, I went back to the head gasket after this. There it goes. And okay, so I just want to. Would the piston travel farther without the flywheel on it? All right, we're breaking up again. So this voiceover is getting long. We're almost at the end. How much more time do we got? I edited out some upcoming stuff, so I know. I want to show you the difference between the stock flywheel key and the one that I bought, and I have some troubles pulling it out because it's in there pretty tight. I wish I had something like this for the Urban Express. If they made an offset flywheel key. I looked and looked at many possibilities, but none seemed like they would be successful. But there are other ways to change the timing on that bike, and we'll probably venture into that at a later date. Some have reported that if you advance the timing, it runs a ton better. You get better takeoff, you get better mid-range, you get better high-end. Allegedly, that's what they say. Now we've got to test it. All right, so finally got the sucker off, and I'm gonna show you the old and the new. It's kind of hard to see if I can get my hand in the camera. So the one has like the kind of ridge on it, and the key kind of sits off to the side. Like I said, you can install it one direction, you can reverse it and install it the other, and depending on what you want to do, advance or retard the timing. And I have a wonderful time trying to get this thing back in as well. I almost resorted to sanding it a little bit, but I finally got it in. So, yeah, nothing changed on my top speed. Still around 36, 37 miles an hour. So I will, from here, maybe take off a little more from the cylinder head and see if I can get that compression up, maybe another 20 PSI or 25 PSI, maybe around 150 would be good. We'll see. And it ran great, even with the timing retarded a bit, which means basically that the piston is firing later in the combustion cycle. When you advance the timing, the piston is firing earlier in the combustion cycle. Retarding the timing also has the effect of allowing you to shed more heat out of the pipe. So if you've got a hot engine, you want to retard the timing. Now another way you can do this is with a CDI. But anyhow, I'll get into that later. Thanks for watching. Hopefully you learned something.